Okay, happy Passover, ladies and gentlemen, my wonderful audience. May God bless you and give you a truly joyous and happy Passover. And I want to give a great idea. The Holy Zohar says that the Shekhinah comes visit us the night of Pesach, and the true Passover Haggadah has to be done with true enthusiasm, joy. So if you can sing the Haggadah in your favorite tune, I think it would be a wonderful and novel idea. Tonight I wanted to talk about the second step of the Haggadah, which is what? Karpas. Kadesh, we do Kiddush, Karpas. So the Ben Ish Chai asks a beautiful question. Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim, the true prince of Torah of Baghdad, that wrote almost 70 books. He asked such a beautiful question, and that is in the Manishtana we say, Manishtana alayla hazeh mikol halelot shebechol halelot enachnu matfilim afilu pa'am echad halal halel shte pa'amim. So the first question of the Manishtana is, why tonight do we dip twice? Usually, in the course of your dinner, do you ever dip anything in? No. And then one other question of the Manishtana is, why tonight we have to eat bitter herbs? But not only once, twice. So the Ben Ish Chai says, obviously, the night of Passover, we remember the best of times and the worst of times, right? Passover is designated to remind us of the best of times and the worst of times. The best of times is matzah, the leaving. The worst of times is maror. But where does Karpas come in? Why do we have to remember the bitterness twice? One before we read the Haggadah, right? Karpas comes before Magid, and one after we read the Haggadah. And we could even ask a better question. This is the billion-dollar, trillion-dollar question. Passover, we celebrate, is the holiday of freedom and liberation. But why did we deserve to end up in there with that backbreaking bondage and slavery and servitude altogether? If God is a fair God, is a compassionate God, is a just God, why did He get us into this mess of Egypt altogether that He liberated us? Wouldn't it have been better if He's such a passionate and amazing and Rahman, compassionate God, Harachaman, that He shouldn't have gotten this altogether? So the Ben Ish Chai says such a beautiful and answer, which is really relevant to us today. He says that maror is a whole different bitterness than karpas. Karpas, the second step of the Passover Haggadah, is coming to answer the question. It's coming to answer that billion-trillion-dollar question, the mother of all questions that we should be asking. Why do we deserve to go to Egypt and be slaves for 210 years altogether? And you know what the answer is? Karpas. Karpas is the acronym of Ketonet Pasim. There's one universal spiritual rule all of you should know. And you cannot understand anything that happens unless you have this cardinal, golden, the diamond rule. You know what the diamond rule is? The rule of all rules? Karma. Midah keneged midah. You know why we deserve to go to Egypt and be servitude? Because we sold our own brother Yosef to servitude. Isn't that how we got up into Egypt? We took our own brother, the favorite son, because of jealousy. And what did we do to him? We sold him just for a few silver coins into what? To be we threw him into a pit. Then we took him out of the pit. We still didn't get our wisdom and act together. We just threw him like a slave into what? The hands of the merchants that went and sold him to Potiphar. What goes around comes around, ladies and gentlemen. Karpas means ketonet pasim. And not only did we do one terrible thing about selling our brother, then we went and lied to Jacob, our patriarch and father, and we said, you know, this beautiful coat, this beautiful sweater that you had made for Yosef, a wild wolf devoured devoured him. And this is the blood. This is his, right? We ripped off his coat. We killed a lamb. And we made Yaakov cry for how many years? 22 years. You understand? Karpas is a preference, is an introduction to the Haggadah. Because we could ask, hey, if God is such a wonderful God and we love Him and we're celebrating and we have to have so much gratitude, why did He get us into this mess altogether? We deserve the mess. We created the mess. We, because of jealousy, because of baseless hatred, we sold Yosef into slavery, and what goes around comes around. That's why we take the karpas, which means the coat of Yosef, we dip it into what? Salt water. The Ben Ishchai says Kabbalistically you shouldn't dip it into vinegar. It's better to, because the salt water is a remembrance of what?
The bitter tears.
The bitter tears of Jacob. The other bitter herbs that we eat, maror, the romaine lettuce or whatever horse, that's in remembrance of the servitude and the crying and the bitterness that the Egyptians caused. You understand? But Karpas is in remember of what? So let us remember that the terrible tragedy that caused us to get into the bondage of Egypt is because we had jealousy. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, all the brothers say, why is the Yosef the favorite son? Let's throw him into a pit. God says, you made your brother a slave. Now your children have to become slaves for hundreds of years. So, and guys, this is what we still haven't learned the lesson of baseless love. The only thing that could take, and the reason why we are in this present exile, and we have to be worried about a nuclear Iran is for what? Because again, we destroyed the second temple, this beautiful temple back here, because of what? Because of baseless hatred. So may Hashem help us finally this year to stop this terrible cycle of violence and hatred, which again, it got us into the first exile of Egypt. We sold Yosef. This baseless hatred caused God to destroy the second temple. And my true heart's desire is that we should truly, truly rebuild the third temple. How? The night of Pesach is the night of unconditional love for every Jew. And may we see the days of Mashiach. Because Hashata Hacha Avdeh, like in the beginning of Halach Ma'anya, we say we are still, unfortunately, in exile. But next year, when we be truly Bnei Chorin, happy Passover, Chag Kasher, V'Sameach.